Video game movies are bad, or are they? I've been told they're not very good. I've seen a few that I think are okay. Tonight we're going to discuss it on this special deep dive with an even specialer guest, the internet's own Matt Giguere. I'm your host, Bobby Pease. Joining me as always, the gamer on the go and gone. Good riddance, Johnny Amizich. How are you two doing tonight?
Oh, poor Johnny.
No.
You say my name?
Chase Kinnicky, the gamer on the go.
Yeah, well,
I said the gamer on the go, didn't I?
Just said the first part.
Just the
Sorry.
gamer on the go.
It made it sound like Johnny was the gamer
Anyway.
on the go and gone.
I was too excited about Johnny being gone.
Fair. We
Uh,
really upgraded this week, didn't we?
we got a huge upgrade. Massive, monumental upgrade.
Oh, no, that's not true. That is far from the truth.
Matt, I mean, we appreciate you, but like a bag of trash is an upgrade from Johnny. So like
That's fair. That's fair.
It's less about you and it's more about Johnny.
I think Johnny is reenacting that scene from the movie Big when Tom Hanks gets big for the first time and gets to stay in that shitty hotel in New York and is scared to death. That's Johnny right now. Wherever
we got bunk beds?
Yeah, bunk beds. Matt, thanks so much for joining us. You've been such a friend of the show. You've been tweeting, retweeting, hanging out in chat. You've been just a real pal, and we're so happy to have you on here with us.
It's great watching you guys seeing you guys expand and doing going on a Twitch this year and doing a lot more quick looks and everything. So yeah, really props to you guys. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've had a
lot of work, but a lot of fun.
A lot of work. It's hard to polish a turd, they say, and we're doing our damnedest here at the Casual Hour. But no, it's been fun, and you and Chase have known each other for some time. You've been on a few episodes of Gamers on the Go. One really special one where you talked about Fire Emblem Three Houses that, I was there with you all.
One of my favorites. That was a great conversation.
Very memorable.
But tell us a little bit about what you do. I know you stream. What are you into?
Yeah.
Walk us through that.
I've been streaming for, I started right around in August, end of July, August, when I realized I have a bunch of stuff I can stream with, but I'm missing just a few key components, and that was a simple streaming card, which I found for $20. And but I played mainly retro games, all on pretty much on original hardware.
That's awesome.
And it's I use upscalers like RetroTink and OSSC products and things like that to not only do I play it on a CRT television as my gaming monitor, so I don't have to worry about the lag you face when you play it on a through OBS, for example, on a computer. I've been playing Lycan games, doing things like that. So pretty much anything I've been playing, just anything 10 years older plus is kind of just been the rule of thumb. And recently, just as sort of a commitment sort of thing, I've been streaming mainly on Thursdays. It's been my one stream day is Thursdays, and been playing Front Mission 3 on PlayStation 1, which is a strategy turn-based game on using mechs. It's a fascinating game. And I'm
strategy turn-based game including mechs.
I've two.
Is this a casual Thursday?
Have been peaked.
Yep, every Thursday. I've been doing it for the past month and a half, and just having a wild time. It's such a fascinating game to look back on. There's problems with it, if you fail a mission, you don't get to restart the mission right away. You have to go back to your previous save and all that fun stuff. You're limited to only 4 characters at a time for every battle. So if you're looking to be huge Fire Emblem, this isn't the one that you're looking for. But it's the aesthetics of it, the low poly PS1 graphics as well for a late PlayStation 1 game. This came out 99, 2000. And it's such a fascinating game. It's pretty amazing.
That's
Matt,
awesome.
You need to tell us what the big selling point of this game, though.
Oh, of course, it's Ryogo, my number 1 fuckboy. He is first of all, a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But
what do they call them?
he is
what do they call the mechs?
They call the mechs Wanzers.
Wanzers! They're called fucking Wanzers!
Wanzers.
Oh
Wanzers.
my
It's supposed to
God.
be German. It's like in Evangelion, a lot of the technology is from Germany as well too, and then Nerve has a European headquarters in Germany or something like that. It's just kind of that kind of fascination connection.
I thought it was a play on words of walking panzers, walking tanks.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is like that. But panzers are German for tanks, so
Sure.
Yeah,
it's
the same thing.
Wanzers.
Oh
What a
my
great
God.
I know
name.
it's amazing, and yeah, this is the first game that came out in the West. There were 2 other games that came out on Super Famicom that were more based in strategy, didn't have like the RPG elements that this one has, where you're like leveling up characters and everything. And there's been let's see, the last one was on PS2.
Okay.
There was a DS game that was a remake of the first one, and there was Last Alive or something like that? The Left Alive or whatever, the Konami game that, or the game that is set in the Front Mission universe. What was it? I'm gonna have to look it up or something like that bullshit on the spot. But anyway, it came out and people were like, just like they didn't like it. I was just like, what the hell is this shit?
Get it out of here.
So it's not like it's a series that is coming back, but Square Enix has renewed the license to it. So and they've been coming out with merch of it. Like you can find Wanzers on like sites like model kits and things like that.
Wanzer's Gone Wild.
Yeah, Wanzer's Gone Wild, exactly.
That's what I'm
That's what I'm gonna title that tomorrow if Twitch allows it.
I'd heard the name Front Mission before, but I didn't really know anything about it because if I did, I probably would have played it. But watching you play it, it looks awesome, and it's a game I definitely want to give a shot to at some point.
Yeah, and you can like, if you want to try to find a legit way to buy it, you use copies. I didn't realize this are pretty expensive now. Compared to when I got it like a decade ago. But if you have a PlayStation 3, you can download it from the PSN network or Vita if you have one of those. I don't know why.
I have one of those.
The original
can't get it from
OLED
PSP
screen
anymore because that's closed. But yeah, you can buy it for $10. Like it's a $10 buy on those systems.
Damn.
Good luck getting those.
Yeah.
Well, we are thrilled to have you here.
It was Left Alive. Left Alive was that PS4 game that came out. Yeah.
Okay.
And people are like, what is this? And it's like, oh, it's set in the Front Mission universe. And they're like, what? But there's no, where are the Wanzers? Like,
no Wanzer, no save.
What I'm always asking. When a Wanzer is not on screen, I'm asking, where is the Wanzer?
Oh my God.
Exactly.
So, you've joined us for a really interesting episode. The deep dives are, I think, some of the most peculiar things that we do here in the Casual Hour. If you're new to the Casual Hour, we do What You've Been Playing episodes where they're pretty straightforward. We tell you about the games that we've been playing along with some gaming news. We do a preview episode every month, usually showcasing the games coming out that upcoming month, recapping the games that came out the month prior. The deep dives are these dealer choice episodes, and we rotate through them, and each one of us, sometimes Chase does show and tell, sometimes he sends us magazines, sometimes Johnny writes a love letter to Bungie, sometimes I talk about spooky things that happen in the gaming community, and tonight...
We've done book clubs, we've done movie clubs.
I decided that since I haven't had a crack at one of these for a while, we've talked about a few movies here on the show, but I wanted to really pull back the veil of video game movies and really unpack some stuff with you two tonight around them. So we're going to go through about 41 movies, and what I've put together here is a slideshow that is going to showcase what are we looking at here. So we're going to have the movie on the left-hand side, and we're going to have the video game on the right. And so what we're going to do is compare some stats about every movie that's based off of the game, and we'll look at some details about each one, and maybe we can share some of our insights from those games or those movies. Have we seen them? Have we not? And before we dive too deep, I wanted to share how I came up with some of this information. So there is an order that we're going over, and the order is from the least box office earnings to the most.
Okay.
And we're going to start.
I was looking at this. I'm like, is it? Are you going off of the Rotten Tomatoes score, or
Yep,
just the worst Uwe Boll movies to the best?
we could have a lot to talk about
Probably just
there.
wanted to start with a good one.
Yeah, you picked a good one here, I think.
So what we're going to look at is I tried to incorporate Metacritic data where I could. I did use Wikipedia quite a bit. Rotten Tomatoes was a good friend. Some of these older games, it's hard to find details on, from like units sold to like a consistent place where reviews were done. And
You don't know how many Mario Brother copies were sold from the original Super Mario Brothers?
I mean,
we don't even know when it was sold. We don't know its first date in America.
so what you'll see also is I've got the plot for the movie, the plot for the game. In case we don't know anything about it, we can compare at least those two things.
Plot is maybe a strong word for Postal here.
Yeah. So some of these games we might spend more time on than the other. I did my best to stay accurate to the data that was presented to me. I can't promise everything that we're going to go over is 100% accurate, but we're going to do our absolute best. But a few things that I want to get out in the open. What do you two think is the highest grossing movie that we're going to talk about tonight?
Well, okay, so to put this in perspective, I think you said this off mic. You are only doing live action U.S. films.
Sorry. Yes,
because
thank
the
you.
answer is Pokemon with a bullet. Like Pokemon would obviously be.
We're doing live action Western movies.
Right.
So no anime.
No
So
anime.
would something like Detective Pikachu count here? Because there's mixture of live action.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think that's the answer, but
It can't be. Is it Sonic? It's Sonic the Hedgehog.
So,
Sonic might be up there. I feel like Warcraft might be up there. For
Yeah,
some ungodly
Warcraft.
reason.
That China
Yeah.
bump.
Yeah. Okay.
It turned out to be very popular in China.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it?
And what do you think?
This won't be on the list either, but Dynasty Warriors is out
Now,
in China now.
Yep.
It's
What
not
about
a good movie from what I hear?
So we got Warcraft from Chase. We've heard Sonic, maybe Detective Pikachu. We've got a few big contenders for the highest grossing movie. My other question for you two is what do you think the highest rated game is we're going to talk about tonight? That's
highest rated single game.
Yep.
If it's Mario Brothers, it's Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers.
Okay, so we got Super Mario Brothers out there. That's a very
what else would it be?
I mean, I might go back to Warcraft. Like World of Warcraft is such a huge game.
Have they made a Tetris movie? I mean,
I wish they would.
No, so
give them time.
I wish they would. Okay, so we've got highest grossing. Talk about highest rated game. What's the highest rated movie we're going to talk about tonight?
That's probably Detective Pikachu, right?
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Okay.
Like it was passable. And a lot of these are just like either bad, passable, or entertainingly fiasco.
Yeah,
I think the problem is I mostly avoid video game movies.
Yeah,
I know they're going to break my heart, so I don't have a great frame of reference on whether some of these things are actually good or bad.
Awesome. Well, we're going to discover that tonight. And to kick things off, with the worldwide box office of $146,000, we're talking about the movie Postal. And
that doesn't seem like a big number, Bobby.
No, this movie took a hard bath. A couple fun facts about this movie. It was being billed. One of the catchphrases was live action South Park. And that was a big selling point for it. Another thing is that this movie was a sequel to Postal, because there's quite a few games in that history for Postal. There was a sequel that was being kickstarted that obviously did not meet its funding goals and was shut down in 2013. This game came out in 2007. The original came out in 1997, so they had 10 years to make a bad decision. This have you played or watched a Postal game or a Postal movie?
I've seen clips of a Postal game, and it's just like first-person trash, like hatred of its day. It's just but by the time like Grand Theft Auto 1, 2, and 3 came out, no one cared about these kind of games.
Yeah,
like you play Grand Theft Auto 3. Like what else would you do?
So it is. It's been released on quite a few things. You can actually get Postal, I think, on iOS and Android now, even. Isometric game.
Woo!
I thought this was also banned in Australia too, right?
Yes.
One of the Postal's games.
Well, there was also some controversy that came along with the game because of the title. There was a lawsuit from the U.S. Postal Service over this.
Oh yeah, right.
A lot of controversy around the game. The movie is trying its damnedest to be political satire. It's got George Bush and Osama bin Laden in it. I mean, it is fucking awful looking. I watched a trailer and it's bad.
I remember seeing the trailer when this was like they're making a Postal movie, and it's gonna be raw and uncut, and it starts with like a horrible parody of 9/11 right
Yeah.
in the beginning, and you're just like, oh man, this is what we're buckled up for. Yeah, pass, hard pass.
Yeah, I mean the plot here is in the ironically named City of Paradise, a loser teams up with his cult-leading uncle to steal a peculiar bounty of riches from their local amusement park. The recently arrived Taliban have a similar focus, but a far more sinister intent. Bad news across the board here with Postal.
I think you're underselling who directed this too, because we're gonna say this name a lot in the preceding slides.
Yeah, he also was the one who attempted to kickstart this and had to eat shit there again. He is not the only person to blame for what's happening here, but certainly has a lion's share of the blame for video game movies.
Try to box somebody too.
Maybe.
Yeah, something like that. He's done a lot of things that are questionable and just like, you sure you're not running some sort of racket here? I don't know. What is going on with you, dude?
So a couple things to note. The movie received a 22 on Metacritic with a 9% Rotten Tomato rating. The game, however, had a 56 Metacritic with a 6.5 user score. There is a cult following for the game. People do like the game quite a bit. I have not experienced either one of them outside of the trailer. No thanks for me. Postal is definitely at the bottom here. So next,
I got better time to spend.
Dead Trigger.
So Dead Trigger.
What is this?
This is an iOS game, and
what?
This was a first person. So in 2012, 5 years after the first iPhone, this was a pretty big deal when it came out. This was a decent looking first person shooter for the iPhone before you had all the attachments you could put on there. Like, this is just touching your fucking screen, playing a game.
My favorite way to play first person shooters on iOS.
Oh yeah, 100%. Not a great experience. Now, obviously, because it was an app, I couldn't really get the data on how many units were sold or how many downloads happened for it. But the game did have a 70 on Metacritic, and it did have a 6.3 average score. Decent. At the time when this game came out, there really wasn't a whole lot out there. You didn't have your PUBGs, you didn't have your Call of Duties or things of that degree on mobile like you might now. The movie, however, was a big stinking turd at 5% on Rotten Tomatoes score with a 40% Metacritic. It only
less than Postal.
Less than Postal.
I mean, like, even like if you take inflation into account, like Postal kind of made more money.
And I have the wrong plot here.
Think about it.
I have the plot from Postal on this one. Whoops.
Whoopsie.
I don't think they're probably that different.
No. The movie did have oh my god, the big Russian boxer from Rocky. Dolph.
Dragon?
Yeah, Dolph Lundgren.
I'm pretty sure he's in the actual movie for Dead Trigger. So it had some names attached to it, for whatever that's worth. But
yeah, names.
A name. Now this is one that I'm actually really excited to talk about. It's called Werewolves Within, and this movie just came out. It came out July 2nd. And it's got an awesome score on Rotten Tomatoes right now, an 86. It's got a 65 Metacritic. This movie looks like a ton of fun. I didn't realize it was based off of a video game when I saw the trailer. My wife and I actually were going through the trailer app on our Apple TV the other night and saw this. It's got the girl from the AT&T commercials in it, and a bunch of other.
Lily?
Yeah.
Her name is difficult and foreign.
It looks like a ton of fun. So this game follows. It's a VR game, first of all. Probably why we haven't heard much about the video game. It is on Oculus. It's on PlayStation.
There you go.
It is kind of like an Among Us, where you are doing some social, like, who is the werewolf in the group, and
this is the one with the guy from Veep too.
Yes.
It's like actually kind of funny.
Yes.
Looking.
No. Yeah. It's a comedy. It looks really good.
So this box office is maybe a little deceptive because this is just out.
We're recording this 5 days after its release. Yeah. So
okay.
And I mean, we're still like seeing some movie theaters open up. There's still been some post-COVID stuff, but this is already getting some pretty positive reviews, and it's doing pretty well worldwide box office right now. This number could go up, as Chase pointed out. The game is like $20. You can get it on all those platforms. It is something that you'd have to have like multiplayer for, so I just don't know if I'll ever get around to playing this on VR, but I think it could be kind of neat.
You just need multiple friends with
Yeah.
$620, 600 so you can buy the VR, 20 so you can buy the game. It's
Absolutely.
a hard thing to ask for.
But the game itself did pretty well also, 6.9. It came out in 2016, 76 on Metacritic. And again, for units sold, I could not find that information for this one because there's a bunch of different areas that it's being downloaded to. But Werewolves Within looks really promising. If you haven't checked out that trailer, you should do so. Whoa. This is the one that I've had a few people tilt their heads at me on when I've shared this.
Oh yeah, they did make a Far Cry movie. Holy crap!
Guess who made it?
Our favorite director, Uwe Boll.
I think it might be him actually. Let me double check. I don't want to get that screwed up.
Or is this a Paul W.S. Anderson joint?
Maybe. Let me see. It was like a very German movie. Let's see here. Who did this one?
Got it.
Uwe Boll. I knew it.
There we go.
I knew it.
Uwe with another big hit. He's almost cracked $1 million on this one.
Yeah. So this one made a little bit more money, but it certainly did not perform well. It did better than the other two that we've covered from him. It did 12% with Rotten Tomatoes score. We had a Metacritic of 30. The first game that came out in 2004 had an 8.0 user review and an 89 on Metacritic. It was very well received. I don't recall the first two being that popular, but
I played the first one shortly after it came out. I remember playing the demo when I got a PC right around that time that could play this game. And that island, man, it's fun just messing about and just like starting off on the edge of the island out in the water and then like just do what you want to do. And it kind of undercut Half-Life 2 to the release date too. Like it was like Half-Life 2 was supposed to come out a year before, and this like Crytek with this new Far Cry, the Far Cry CryEngine or whatever that they had, was like, wow, they're doing something that's looks much better than what Valve's doing. And then Half-Life 2 came out, and everybody remembers Far Cry 3 the most.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, so you didn't play the first two, did you?
I didn't play the first one. I played 3 and then heard people talk about a lot of the cool mechanics that were going on in 2.
It was
the
good.
Fire
I
tech,
liked
the buddy system, the malaria, the gun jamming.
Yeah.
A couple of those mechanics were less fun than others.
Malaria, not fun.
No, certainly not.
Gun jamming, surprisingly fun at times when you're in the moment and you're like, oh crap, my gun jammed when I was about to get this guy.
I think my bigger problem with Far Cry 2 is when you just go through those outposts and they would be restocked with people every time, and it
like
just
almost
slowed
immediately.
the gameplay down. Yeah, it was pretty hard. I appreciated a lot of what it was doing, but 3 I think is just where they nailed it.
Yeah.
And then 4 it feels like they just made the game again in a worse place, and then that game kind of fell off a cliff. That series fell off a cliff for me after 4.
So interesting enough about Far Cry 3, I did see in my research that Ubisoft is trying to get that movie made. They want to reboot the whole thing, the cinematic Far Cry universe with Far Cry 3. And I don't know what that looks like. There was a few years back, Ubisoft had been talking about like, hey, we're going to be making a lot more movies. There was talk about like Jake Gyllenhaal coming on for The Division. They also had the Assassin's Creed movie that, we may or may not be talking about. Mm-hmm. So Far Cry could come back. Yeah, Prince of Persia.
I think Voss is like a good villain, but I don't think.
I mean, but like if you look at what
part of Far Cry 3 is interesting at all.
If you look at like what they're doing right now, they're getting big name actors. Like Giancarlo Esposito is the villain in Far Cry 6, and he is very recognizable right now.
Absolutely.
So it's like do you want to like spend the money doing like the games that seem to be making as much, if not more money than look at what the last Far Cry movie did? Like, do you think that's gonna put people in seats in a movie when it's like, well, what do people play a Far Cry game for? Is it for the story, or is it for going about and doing all these like random encounters and grinding for
Animal skins.
to make your
Right.
pouches and stuff like that, and get hit by bliss bullets. I don't know.
Oh
like,
God.
They do know how to make memorable villains, though.
They do,
Sure.
and they do
You
make
have Boss,
memorable
you have
scenes
Tekken
too.
Din.
Yeah.
I didn't even play 5, but isn't that Jacob something, the
Jacob.
cult leader?
Yep.
Yeah, and then now you have Giancarlo Esposito's character, and they all seem pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember the bad guy in Blood Dragon, but Blood Dragon
Or
kicks
I
Primal.
really need to play Blood Dragon.
Oh,
I really
it's
do.
so good.
I know. That's one I'm gonna play that soon.
They should make a movie of that.
Yeah, right.
I would watch it. All right.
But-
it's basically just a non-stop movie reference.
But I've never
anyway.
seen the Far Cry movie, so who
Yeah,
knows
neither
what that thing's about.
I've never seen the Tekken movie.
I
Never
forgot
mind.
they made a Tekken movie.
I-
Was this supposed to be like, this isn't the anime Tekken? So
No. This was a live
This is
action Tekken
2010.
from 2010.
Is there a volcano in this movie?
I don't know if there is a volcano. I have not seen
If
it.
not, they fucked up.
But this movie has a whopping 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is
Yeah,
pretty
woof.
awesome.
Seems bad.
But it did over 1 million, and that's probably off name recognition alone. I'm trying to think, like, at the time, what was like the current Tekken in 2010? And do you know, like, what would have been like?
let's see.
I feel like
2010,
Tekken
that
had
was-
been wearing down by that point in time.
It was before Tekken, the one on the Wii U, so it wasn't that one. Man, I don't even know what Tekken they're on right now. They're on Tekken 7, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it was probably like Tekken 4 or Tekken 5.
Okay.
Kind of looking it up. So let's see. Tekken Tag Tournament 2 was 2011.
Okay,
Tekken
yeah, that's
6
Wii U.
was Tekken 6 was 2009.
All right.
There you
So
Tekken 6, man, they took a long time to get to Tekken 7. Holy
Or
shit!
Tekken 6 was 2007. Tekken 6 Bloodline was 2009.
Of course.
and then we get the Tekken movie. So
Yeah.
when I did some of these, that, like, if I'm looking at a movie that had multiple games in it, I would also look at, did they base the movie off of a particular game in the series? Was it off of like Tekken 3 or 4? It just said based off the Tekken series, so I went with the first one here. We'll cover some more of that stuff here in a little bit, but for the Tekken 1, like 1995, 7.5 user score, 89 on Metacritic. This is a pretty high reviewed game. People love Tekken.
Oh yeah. It was like one of those early 3D fighters that was like not only like looked really good for the time, but also played really well. Like,
Absolutely.
you had Soul Edge, you had Battle Show Shinden Arena, but they weren't like this kind of like, it just didn't have the flow of like Tekken, especially when you got to Tekken 3. That was just like on another level, like one of the best fighting games of the era.
Absolutely.
I was more of a Virtua Fighter guy, but over Tekken. But if I was in an arcade, I'd totally load up and play as Mokujin or play as
was it
the
King?
Kangaroos or Raptors or King. Yeah,
King was awesome.
Iron King.
Yeah, I like King a
There's
whole
some
lot.
good characters. Yeah.
So yeah, Tekken's
got
was going to be a hard movie to make to live up to those expectations.
Is it like how
there
hard
are
is it to
tons.
make how hard do you think it is to make like a fighting movie? Like this has been
they've made
done,
a
like,
ton.
many-
We're gonna go over a bunch of these, but so I don't want to spoil anything that's
No.
coming up.
I am alluding to a running theme here, but there's like there's storied history, but in Hollywood and beyond in cinema, tournament movies. Like Enter the Dragon is one of the most lauded movies of all time, and it's just a fighting tournament movie, and it's like it'd be not that hard to do something like that, but
I get it.
You buckle up, I guess.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well,
What's next?
what's next is BloodRayne.
No.
Another Uwe Boll greatest hit.
It is, right? Like, I think. So did either of you play BloodRayne? Like, I feel like BloodRayne is pretty popular.
No, nope. I saw
I-
those games and I was just like, this looks for some people, it's not for me.
Was this game good, or popular, or did it just have a big marketing budget behind it? Because I
Yeah, it
feel
had a
like
big
this
marketing
was a
budget.
game that was showing up in magazines
BloodRayne was
all
everywhere.
the time.
It was everywhere.
Yeah, it was definitely a marketing thing, I think.
Because it was vampires, it was a sexy female protagonist. Like let's push this to the moon, and I just feel like it was everywhere. Even if I don't know anybody who's actually played BloodRayne.
I still have not seen or met anybody who has played any of these games. I heard like the Way Forward one was actually probably the best one that they did.
Is that the 2D one?
Yeah, back in like 2010s or something like that, early 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
That I heard was good, but I never checked it out. But like this, like I've seen clips of the movie. Who's Matt Mickelsen's in this.
Ben Kingsley,
I believe. No, Ben Kingsley's in this too. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh shit. Yeah, we went over
Michelle Rodriguez.
Michelle Rodriguez. This movie is just like
I feel
when you
like
see
they
clips
were.
of this, it just feels like it's made for TV.
Well, not only that, it's just I think that they were trying to capitalize on the whole tone from Underworld, and like even the game in itself.
What am I saying?
So the game is 2012 or 2002. The movie came out 2006, so pretty quick turnaround. Like it's almost, in my opinion, they might have been in tandem. Like there's probably people at the studios looking at this saying like we could make a game and sell the shit out of that and push it forward, looking at Lara Croft stuff. But the movie did not do well. 4% Rotten Tomato, 18 on Metacritic, but it did 3 million.
Yep. Michael Madsen, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Slightly different.
Mads would never put himself in trash like
Mads
that.
is a little too smart. Yeah.
He's only in highbrow stuff like Death Stranding.
Stranding, Valhalla Rising.
He was a genius.
So. The game did receive some good critical response here. 75 on Metacritic, 8.4 user review. I think they ended up doing a few more of these games. I think there's like 2 or 3 of them, maybe more.
Yeah.
But the game said they'd stick around. All right.
Like traditional 3D action game kind of thing. Yeah.
Double Dragon. This you can't fuck up Double Dragon, right?
You'd be surprised.
I would not be surprised.
I saw this movie recently.
And does it hold up?
Oh man. Now imagine Los Angeles after the big one. Circa 2007. This movie is like trying to ride the wave of like trying to do Blade Runner, and also trying to follow in the footsteps of the Super Mario Brothers movie in some weird ways. Like it's a PG-13 movie, but it doesn't like it feels like it's a PG movie. It's trying to do like Goonies ass shit and trying to appeal to kids, but also trying to appeal to adults. Who is it? I gotta look this up because the cast is just absolutely amazing. Scott Wolf is in it.
Oh God,
plays Billy.
Okay.
Hold on, just a sec. Let me just pull up IMDb here on Double Dragon. And there's 2 characters named Huey Lewis.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Robert Patrick is the villain.
Nice.
And he tries his best to ham it up so much. He's got frosted tip, white hair.
Love it.
And it just like he doesn't quite reach the levels of a good ham character like say Jim Carrey and Sonic the Hedgehog or something like that, where they're just chewing on the scenery like just like candy and everything. But he tries his best. Mark Dacascos plays Jimmy, who's like he's in like Brotherhood and the Wolf. Of like it's like there's just so many. Let's see. Alyssa Milano is also in this movie.
Okay.
It's such a wild cast. So basically, it's set in 2007 Los Angeles after the big one. So everyone has to buy jacks to keep their foundations up. But that's kind of abandoned, like pretty much in the first quarter of the movie. This one guy. I shouldn't have closed my fucking browser. You dingus. Robert Patrick's trying to find this medallion, which is like this medallion that's supposed to hold power over the body and the soul. But he finds the first half of the soul in China, somewhere in China, which in this post-apocalyptic, like foul, dystopian LA, China looks fine. Like it looks peaceful and calm and fresh air. in LA you have to worry about black rain while Andy Dick gives you the weather report.
Oh my
like
God.
literally, Andy Dick is a cameo in this movie.
No.
Oh no.
So, but man, there's just so much that happens in this movie. It feels like it's like a 90s puke theme park ride, like
Sure.
Batman and Robin, just overproduced, but kind of in the best way. Like you run into enemies like Linda Lash is in this. Who was the big muscle dude?
Like the bald one that was like always shoulder walking. God, what was his name?
Yoboro.
Yes.
He's in this, and he gets mutated into a big ass bulbous dude who becomes the good guy in the end.
Love it.
But yeah, this movie, it's about family, which is a plus.
Nice.
Because Jimmy and Billy, they're like fighters in the fighting ring, and it's just wild. They're cars that use fire exhaust and run off of garbage. Like,
this sounds like a 90s movie.
You can watch it on Amazon Prime right now for free, and I was just amazed. In one fight, this one guy jumps off of a water tower, yelling out his special delivery, and they cut to him like falling, yells airmail, and just falls flat on his face. And I'm just like,
God.
what is this? Like, are they trying to be like the Warriors with like style and stuff? Like just absolute terrible execution. It is like everybody's trying so hard in this movie, but realize it's just shit. And it's good for it. It's good for it. Like,
is it better than 13%?
I was at least entertained by this, and it's only an hour and a half. Yeah, it's a 13%. I would agree with that.
Okay,
it's a good 13%. Yeah, thankfully it's mercifully short. But yeah, it's a stinker of a movie. The cop in who's the cop in Beverly Hills in The Big Lebowski that throws the mug at the dude.
Yeah.
He's in this movie.
I don't like your jerk off face, your jerk off name.
I know. They are Malibu Lebowski.
So
he gets. You wonder if people get typecasted. There you go.
Is Double Dragon the movie better than Double Dragon the game?
No.
Okay.
That is. Well, I don't know actually, because Double Dragon the game, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't
it's
think
a fun romp.
A crazy, it's nothing to write home about. But from the sounds of this movie, that sounds awful.
Woof.
It's a terrible, terrible movie, but I do recommend at least watching it once, maybe with friends, maybe get pretty loaded. I don't know, whatever your thing is. And if you like to riff on bad movies, this is a choice one. I can't recommend it any more than that.
Now here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here is both a great movie and a great video game.
I have not seen the movie.
I have seen this movie.
Oh boy.
Chase, you've seen Dead or Alive.
I've seen Dead or Alive.
How was Dead or Alive? Is it 33%?
It's bad. I mean, that's probably honestly a little bit generous. It is. I assume it has the exact same problem as the Tekken movie, in that it is a movie about a fighting game tournament where the fighting game tournament doesn't matter at all. Like, they show off a handful of characters. They don't even show the best character. Best girl Hitomi is not in this movie, unfortunately. Also, what's her name? Is it Jamie Presley, the one who was in My Name Is Earl?
Yeah.
She is Tina in this, the kind of all-American fighter from Dead or Alive, and it's mostly about her.
Okay.
And I would not center my Dead or Alive movie around Tina. Like, she's
like the most boring character in that whole series.
Yeah, I mean,
her plot line is that her dad's after her because her dad doesn't approve of it.
Her dad wants her to be a pro wrestler, and she wants to be a supermodel. And her dad's like, well, why can't you be both? And she's like, because I don't want to. And that's like her whole story. And she wears a cowboy hat sometimes. That's what we have. I don't remember a ton about this movie. I remember it being pretty bad. And honestly, I think the games, especially the later ones, like
the volleyball ones,
Dead or Alive. No, I think Dead or Alive 5. I think it's 5. Is the one that has its own ridiculous story that is just a ton of cinematics and has like I think that's the one where it's like same time, and they just skip to a different place in the story where you see a new character that they can run with that a little bit, and then they'll jump back. Yeah, it should be Meanwhile, but it's just same time, and it's amazing. Yeah.
So Dead or Alive, the game, though, actually is pretty much loved here. 8.8.
Yeah, I think these are some pretty good 3D fighters. I think they do a solid job. I really like Dead or Alive 3. That was one of the first games I got for my Xbox, and then Dead or Alive 4 was one of the first games I got for my Xbox 360. And I like both of those games quite a bit. I think they've got some good strategy to them, some really nice animation. And then when Tomonobu Itagaki got he left Team Ninja, I think. And this is when Koei Tecmo kind of combined, and Tecmo owns Team Ninja. That's when Dead or Alive 5 started, and they did a big refresh on what all the characters look like. And I have just not liked Dead or Alive the same without him. Like, they are less breast jiggly, which is nice. But there is just something about that dude was a pervert, but that dude was a pervert who could make a pretty decent fighting game. And I don't think it's the
I remember him not liking Tekken at all. Like, he hated Tekken.
I totally believe that.
So
with a passion, he thought it was the most boring fighter ever.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to do that I forgot until now was just asking the question, which was better, the movie or the game, for each one of these. So has there been anything that we've gone over so far where the movie was better than the game?
I haven't seen Dead or Alive the movie, but I know Dead or Alive the game, at least Dead or Alive 2, is a better game than the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I think all these so far
Same with Tekken.
been better games, or at least technically better games.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't touch either Postal with the 10-foot pole, but if you put a gun to my head, I guess I would say the game.
Do I choose shit or diarrhea? Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go with Dead or Alive the game at an 8.8 and an 83 on Metacritic.
And you picked the Saturn game here, but at this point, Dead or Alive 3 or 4 had probably been out around this time.
Yeah, I put Saturn out because that was the only data I could find for.
No, that's fair.
For the shipping there.
Just pointing out.
Where you can play as one of the Spartans.
So
was that 3 or was that 4?
That was 4.
Yeah, 4.
This is something this is where I took a little liberty and did a little bit more digging on, rather than just doing like Alone in the Dark, because there's been a shit ton of these games. The movie. Yeah. So the movie is.
Hit.
What's
How
that?
Did this make 10 million? Another Uwe Boll hit. How did this make 10 million?
This is actually this movie won a ton of awards that were like the Razzies, basically.
Yep.
So the reason I picked The New Nightmare for Alone in the Dark, the game is that is, so the movie's actually a sequel. Yeah, the movie's a sequel to this game. So the movie is the sequel to the 4th Alone in the Dark. Okay. Supposedly. It borrows from
same character, it looks like. This Edward Canby.
Well, this game, the 2001 game, came out on like Dreamcast and PC. It was kind of like 2D background draws, like Resident Evil 1 and 2, those kind of games.
Yeah.
And like the original PC game was definitely a little bit more clunkier, slower, had very chunky polygon figures and things like that. But they both have the same kind of vibes. Like Alone in the Dark is kind of credited as one of the first survival horror games. Not the first, but one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the first one was like early 90s. Really early 90s.
Yeah.
But this movie is just this movie got ripped apart. I'm a 1%, a 9 Metacritic. I think that this is, I'm pretty, like, if you look at both of those metrics, I think this is the worst reviewed movie that we're going to talk about tonight. When it comes to Metacritic and the Rotten Tomatoes score. This one came out it did 10 million at the box office, which I still think it took a bath on.
So how, like, that's too high. That's too high.
But the game did, over 1 million copies in 2001, especially if it's one of the first. Well, this isn't the first one, but I think, to your point, new hardware starts to do some new things with textures and all that fun stuff. I've not played any of these games. That's usually not my thing, but people seem to dig them. So let's move on to Wing Commander.
Yeah, here we go. I've seen this movie. Who hasn't seen this movie?
This had Freddie Prinze Jr. in it. Was Matthew Lillard in this
dude,
one?
Is that the dude who's also in like Hackers and Starship Troopers?
Yes.
Blonde-headed, short-haired blonde dude.
I think. Well, yeah, he's the guy from Scream. Also, he was Shaggy in the Scooby Doo movies. I think he's in this. I'm pretty sure he's in this. So Wing Commander. Let's start with the game. Wing Commander, the game, was a big deal. Like, people really liked that game. It did some incredible things from 3D rendering. One of the, like, I think DirectX 2. It was like one of the first games to really highlight that.
Yeah.
Space operatic, like, it was just huge. 8.5, 76 there. The movie, however, did not live up. Like, not even the prettiest Hollywood pretty boys at that time could save this movie at a 10% and 21 on Metacritic. 11 million, though, in the box office. So, anything from Wing Commander for either one of you?
Never played the games. I remember Mark Hamill's in them, but he's not in the movie.
Yep.
That's right.
The movie I kind of like for its like weird aesthetic of like all this like the ships and everything and just the plight of the crew, but it's been done way better in other things like modern day Battlestar Galactica and shit like that. So it's like, yeah, this is it'd be a struggle to get through this movie nowadays.
Sure.
Kind of, you had to be there in the moment to watch this movie.
No, so I would say that the game is definitely better than the movie here on this one. All right. Not the first one, but we have Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. And
I think I saw this.
I never seen this one, and I remember this one. And yeah, this got trashed. Like, whew.
Yeah. So it was a 5% and a 17%. Pretty poor. We'll get to the other Street Fighter movie here in a little bit, but this one came out 2009, so there had been some time between these Street Fighter movies and the games. But Chun-Li moves from San Francisco to Hong Kong with her family while practicing to be a concert pianist. She learns wushu from her father, businessman. So I don't really think a whole lot about this one or the other ones for that much, but 6.5 for Street Fighter. I couldn't find out like what this was really based on from the game perspective.
I mean, yeah, but you picked Street Fighter 1 here, right?
Yeah.
Which is really handicapping Street Fighter, as I believe Street Fighter 2 is one of the most popular games ever.
Yeah.
So the reason I did that, though, is
ubiquitous with fighting games.
100%. But the actual movie that we'll get, like Street Fighter, the movie, was based off of 2.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
I don't think there's a specific game that Legend of Chun-Li comes from.
Yeah, it's like picking like, well, what the anime of Street Fighter is based off of. It's just it's Street Fighter.
It's Street Fighter.
It's all of it.
This movie, I did not see.
You really took out Street Fighter at the knees here by including the first game that people
that first game is something, man.
Yeah. So let's talk about Dungeon Siege. This one,
man,
this tried its damnedest to remove itself from any video game sort of umbrella, which maybe was in the wrong move here. In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege tale. This had Ben Kingsley in it. It had Jason Statham as the leading man, based off of the Dungeon Siege game that came out in 2002. This was released in 2008 with a worldwide box office of 13 million. I want to say that this is after at least 2 of the Transporter movies around that same time. I think Jason Statham was pretty hot.
Yeah. Definitely after Snatch.
Definitely after Snatch.
That's for sure.
Yes. So he was becoming a pretty big name. I never played Dungeon Siege. I don't know if either one of you did.
I haven't played them, but they're kind of like top-down, isometric in a 3D engine, like kind of like Diablo, that kind of game. So
Yep.
especially like the first two. I don't know what the third one does differently, but I remember the movie, another Uwe Boll hit. Just like we're gonna make this into like a two-parter because it was all the rage. Like Lord of the Rings had dominated not only the box office but awards, like accolades, and was like on everybody's mind is like we got to make a fantasy movie. And I was hungry for fantasy movies. And when I heard like, oh yeah, Uwe Boll's making a Dungeon Sea movie, like pass, man.
Because you had
What?
that, you had the King Arthur movie. I think you had a new Robin
I
Hood movie
saw
at the
that
time.
in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, like there was a lot of people trying to riff off of that at that time, and like this is no different. Like this,
Chronicles of Narnia.
yep, all that shit was going on there. I think it's safe to say the game better here than the movie.
Yeah, and they never went on to make that part 2, I guess.
No.
Weird.
House of the Dead. So there's been a few of these.
Ooh.
I remember playing House of the Dead quite a bit on arcade, but I don't think I saw the movie. I mean, I think that the movie ventures very far away from the game itself. I think that they're only connected in name alone. But the movie,
She's not in
it's
this
weird,
movie,
though.
so it's
Like-
garbage.
Like this is a game that is based on movies. Like it is taking from zombie films, and then they make a film out of the movie and make a bad zombie movie.
yeah.
What are you doing?
So 3% Rotten Tomato, 15% Metacritic, worldwide box office almost 14 million. I could not find shipping details on the game itself, but 71 on Metacritic, 70.3 for user review. People seem to like the game all right. Again, zombie.
This
The
was
game's
also like
The game's great.
wasn't
Yeah.
this like a big arcade hit
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, but I have a version of it on Saturn, and
Sure.
it's pretty awesome on Saturn. Not gonna lie.
Now, would you guys watch a Typing of the Dead movie?
Oh hell yes!
Yeah.
That's
Hell
that's
yes.
where that's
you
a great
kidding me? I'd be day one for that shit.
Uh,
Oh my lord!
all right, here it is. The infamous
All right,
Super Mario Brothers movie
Oh
of
not the
1993.
extended cut.
Not the extended cut, not the Snyder cut.
no, still haven't seen that extended cut yet. But
Neither have I. I have it, but I.
So this
Yeah.
movie came out 1993. Got a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 35% Metacritic. This movie brought in $38 million, almost $39 million in 1993. If you look at inflation, I did the math here. The dollar equivalent. So this here in 93 to today would have been about $1.85 for what you would have seen there. So pretty big money. I don't think enough though, because I think that it still came up short on what
They were
their budget
expecting
was.
more.
Yeah, big time. When you look at the game, 8.3 on user review, 84 on Metacritic. One of the highest games that we're going to talk about tonight. Not the highest, but up there. Over 40 million copies shipped since it's 1985 and different various packagings and places. This was I remember being so confused in 93 watching this movie, expecting Mario Brothers, and the only thing I could think about was, man, those boots were cool, and that was about it.
Oh man,
You don't remember
I really wanted to
Yoshi?
see this. Yeah, you don't
The
remember Yoshi, the
Velociraptor?
actual dinosaur?
Oh,
Yeah.
I really wanted to see this in theaters, and I never got to see it in theaters. In fact, I don't think I've seen a single video game movie in a theater. Like it's always been post in like home video.
I saw
Smart.
one.
And yeah, but like man, like I remember hearing about this movie and becoming really hyped. Like they're making a Super Mario Brothers movie. Holy shit! The first video game movie. Granted, like with the Wizard had come out relatively recently
That
at this
movie
point too.
Was so good. Like that to me was more of a video game movie than this.
I love
It's
the
hard to
Wizard.
I
live
love
up
the
to.
Wizard, man.
Yeah.
It is so bad, but I love the Wizard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Super Mario Brothers gets. This was kind of the original bad video game movie,
Yeah.
But
right?
you know what? It kind of holds up in some weird ways. Like
Sure.
I'm not gonna lie, it is at least from some of the video game movies I've watched, at least somewhat coherent. Like
There are some fun scenes too. Like
Yeah.
the Mario Luigi Mario thing is funny.
Yeah. And again, it's that 90s throw up production of just like, we got to spend a lot on set design and putting a lot of wacky things in for the kids. But here it kind of works because it's just so like, it's kind of almost surreal in a way. And the plot makes no sense. Like, it's like, what does this have to do with Mario Brothers? Oh, we got to mix dinosaurs in with it because Super Mario World came out and dinosaurs are a hit. Like Jurassic Park was just like around the corner here too. Like, yeah, imagine like coming out and then Jurassic Park comes out a few weeks later. Like,
one of the earlier things that I think about with my wife in our budding relationship, we were both smokers, which we are no longer, but we would be outside in the winter in the Midwest smoking. She would start to get cold. I would take off like my big jacket. I would put it on her, but when I would do it, I would try and make her rock like the Goomba and like do that whole thing.
Love that
yeah.
How do we get by all these Goombas? Just rock them.
Yep. So I would do that with her when I put it on because she'd have this tiny little head and this massive jacket on, and that was always a really good time. And
when they're chasing them in that frozen pipe, and then like they trip them up, and then you cut back to them, and one's like riding them like a toboggan, and it's just like it's like, and the cast is like, you got Bob Hoskins as Mario, which he does a really good job with green screen, blue screen stuff. So it's like, he's like in his chops of learning like from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. John Leguizamo as Luigi is just like, what kind of choice is that? But whatever, it works. Dennis Hopper as King Koopa Bowser. It's like, man, like
it's wild. It's a fever dream, man. It is a fever dream.
Like learning about like the production of it too is just, you go in your own time and learn like how Bob Hoskins was just like drunk most of the time because it was just such a travesty.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
All right, so the game better than the movie, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. There's no question.
Speaking about,
yeah.
So Monster Hunter. We're going to be looking at Monster Hunter World specifically in conjunction with the Monster Hunter movie.
Okay.
There was definitely some correlation between those two. 2018 to 2020, the movie did 41 million, and I think that was mostly done overseas. Got a 46% Rotten Tomato score.
Yes and no, because like didn't it had that it had a Chinese slur in it.
It did.
A slur against Chinese people.
Yeah, it didn't really do well over like
in
the
like
main
China, I
market
think,
wanted.
banned it for a while, right? So until they went out and edited the scene to bring it back in. So like, even though I'm sure a lot of that is international, China, where you'd think it would get probably the most money, is probably a little down, honestly.
I've heard, I haven't seen the movie yet. I do want to see it. I'm very curious about it. Early production stills looked really good. They had a lot of the weapons that looked to be the part, but then you see the trailer and it's like a military, wet dream, and they're like tanks and guns and shit. And like, this is not Monster Hunter.
Always what I think about Monster Hunter. It's, get my bone gun out, and I'm ready to rock and go hunting.
But Monster Hunter World, however, did very well. So much so, it's one of the highest performing, if not the highest performing game at Capcom. It is a 6.8, however, for user review. And I think Chase is
smart users out there.
The biggest anchor.
Such a hater.
While Metacritic, however, has it as an 88. This was the game that got me into Monster Hunter, and I think the crown might be removed here in about 2 days as we record this.
Here it comes.
Because Monster Hunter Stories 2
smarten up here at the casual hour
comes out, and if you've been tuning into anything that's happened in the last 7 months, Chase has been rubbing off on me in a lot of ways. But Monster Hunter, the movie, from what I have read, there are some core elements to it. I think that they're fighting throughout the movie multiple monsters, but the big main baddie is a Diablos. And they're focusing on that there. This has is it Mila Jovovich? Is that how you pronounce her name? Is that correct?
Yes.
We'll talk a lot about her.
We'll be hearing from her again. Yeah.
She's definitely typecasted in this one. And Ron Perlman is the Admiral. And
can you be typecasted when your husband is the one who casts you? Like, isn't that just?
I think
that's just kind of like nepotism at that point, right? It's not.
Sure.
Exactly.
I'm going to go ahead and say that the game for me is better than the movie. I don't know if I can speak for both of you there because Chase hates the game. He might love the movie though.
I mean, I've been playing Monster Hunter Rise, and that's pretty fun. So
Yeah, that's really good.
I'm going to give it to the game.
Okay.
I would probably also give it to the game, despite not really caring about either.
All right. This is where it starts to get a little weird.
Yeah.
So we've got multiple Mortal Kombat movies. We even got multiple timelines and reboots. There's this happens with a few series. I'm just going to go ahead and call it out tonight. Mortal Kombat, Tomb Raider, and Resident Evil are confusing as fuck to try and coordinate between things. And
Fair.
Mortal Kombat, I was able to draw some more distinct lines here than I was with some of the other ones. But Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which came out in 97, this was the sequel to the first 95 movie, is more loosely based on Mortal Kombat 3 than Mortal Kombat 2. So,
I buy that.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation did not do very well, especially in comparison to the first Mortal Kombat of 95. However, it still brought in the big bucks at the time in 97 with 51 million out the door. It had a 2% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that this is one of the bottom 3, and an 11% on Metacritic.
Yeah.
Now, Mortal Kombat 3, I think, had a lower review or a lower score than the other two, but still did critically very well. Had a 70% on Metacritic, over 1 million copies sold. 1 million plus is what I found for it. I remember liking Mortal Kombat 3 a good amount, and I remember liking Mortal Kombat Annihilation, not as much as the first one, but quite a bit. Any thoughts here from you two on either one of these Mortal Kombats?
I tried watching Mortal Kombat Annihilation a long time ago. I think it was airing on TNT or something like that. And when it got to the part where they're in the American Gladiator style gymnasium balls, I'm just I lost it. I'm like, what is even this movie like? Did people actually sit in theaters and watch this garbage? They start off right where the first one ends and kill Johnny Cage right away.
Yeah,
it's all that momentum you won from the first movie is just gone, completely gone. And Mortal Kombat 3 is pretty good. I like it.
Yeah.
2 is my favorite, but 3's all right.
I don't like having a block button. You should be able to hold back the block. So
I press back to. So you don't like Smash Brothers?
that's correct.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Smash Brothers isn't a fighting game. Everybody knows that.
Oh, touche.
Worse by a country mile than Mortal Kombat 3.
Yes.
Another weird one,
Ooh.
not to be confused with the other series here, but Silent Hill. Silent Hill Revelation.
This is the second Silent Hill movie or the first one?
Second movie based off of the third game. But the other thing too is that they did, if I'm not mistaken, because I didn't play the Silent Hill games, they moved around some of the main focus of the character, because I believe that they brought in what's her name? Heather the main focus of the first game. And I'm not going to act like I know, but this movie got a 10% and a 16%. Was not loved. The Silent Hill games are very well respected. 85 and 8.6 here.
Yeah, some are a big deal.
Yeah, for what they are. The first game, people seem to love to hate and love it even more when they hate it.
Yeah, I couldn't find the numbers for Silent Hill 3 as far as units shipped. But the movie itself did 52 million, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah, never saw the second movie. I remember seeing the first movie, which I'm sure we'll get to in a little bit here.
Yeah, but before we get to the Silent Hill, we got to talk about Doom.
Yeah.
Starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I'll tell you what, that man's name did a lot of favors for this game or for this movie.
I bet so.
Isn't Carl Urban in this too?
Who is that?
Judge Dredd in the Good Dredd movie.
Oh, I think so.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I'm gonna look that up while you do your thing, Bobby.
Yeah.
Well, here's the good news. We're getting really close to being able to find a wormhole portal, the Ark, if you will, to an ancient city on Mars. We're only about 5 years out from this. So I'm looking forward to it. I remember distinctively watching the trailer for this and all the first person cuts that the movie did to make it look like the video game, I thought was real fucking dumb.
Oh,
But the movie did 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, 34 on Metacritic, brought in a whopping 55 million, almost 56 million. I think that it was considered successful commercially, but failed with critics and fans alike. Whereas
it's a movie that is built around one single scene, and that is the first person Doom scene.
yep, at the very end, it's their money shot, basically.
Yeah, which also isn't good, but is like the most compelling thing about this movie. And then the rest of the movie is just garbage.
Yep, absolutely. The game came out in 2005 for Doom 3, so I did find out also that Doom, the movie, was loosely based on Doom 3, the game.
Right, because it's about Mars. Like both of them are about Mars, and less.
Well, the first one was about Mars too,
hell.
but I mean, the enemy designs in the movie are based off the ones in Doom 3, and it's kind of like the same. You know, Doom 3 had like, oh, we're gonna put like audio logs in for Doom.
These are pretty close together.
Like.
Like they're March to October in 2005. That's quick turnaround.
So I'm wondering, like, production had to be going for Doom, and Doom 3 comes out, and like I'm sure that everybody that's working on Doom was involved with the movie being made and helping out with that and showing some assets like, hey, we got this going on, we got this game coming out in March, we'll have a lot of people buzzed on it, like you get The Rock in there. I could see some shit with Bethesda happening there for sure.
I don't know if John Romero went as far to write a Bible for the Doom movie, but I don't know if he had any much input other than like, did he have like an executive role or something like that? I'm sure.
Maybe.
I'm sure he had to.
This was pre-Bethesda though, right? This was way.
Oh yes, this is pre-Bethesda. Like
not
Bethesda buy them another I think ID Software like 5 years later in like 2010s or something like that.
So yeah, that's Doom. Anything else there?
I'd say Doom 3 is probably better than Doom the movie.
I would say you're probably
even
right.
though you can't have a flashlight and your gun out at the same time in base Doom 3. But hey,
made a
the
mod for
thing's
that.
really nice.
So let's go next to we're getting really confusing again. I lied. There's a lot of confusing things that happen with video game movies in the early 2000s and then into the later 2000s.
Again, is this the first movie or the second movie? I don't know.
Hitman Agent 47 is
the second movie, right?
This is the second movie.
Okay.
So this is kind of a reboot. So they did the first. We'll talk about the first one. This was done in 2015, completely separate from the first movie. Like they redid it. It's almost like the Punisher. What they did with the Punisher is almost exactly like that. So Punisher got rebooted a few times, but the Tom Jane movie and then what happened later after the Tom Jane movie, I think that had not John Travolta, but there was another guy that played Jigsaw in it. Anyway, you've got Hitman Agent 47 based off of the Hitman series. So I just went off of the first Hitman here for this one. And the movie, the sequel or the reboot here did pretty poorly, as you can see. You've got 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. You've got a 28 Metacritic. However, box office score here, 82 million, which is nuts.
2015, that's kind of like...
you got some hype. You got big bucks.
Budget in there. I remember them playing the trailers because I was working at GameStop all the fucking time when I was working there. Like, it was so annoying. Is this the one with Timothy Olyphant in it?
No, that's the first one.
Okay, that's the first one. So who plays Agent 47 in this role?
It's a different person. What is the name here?
In the plot there.
What's up?
In the plot.
Rupert Friend.
Oh yeah, it's right there. It's Rupert. And, oh man, he was in something else. I can't remember, but like, yeah, it's so weird. Like, we got to recast because reboot.
Yep.
And the time between the two movies is not that long. Like it was relatively in the same decade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like 8 years between them. I think.
Yeah.
Pretty wild stuff. So the game itself, did all right. 500,000 copies and more. 73 on Metacritic. 7.4 users.
And it went on to be a very popular franchise for a long time, and then became an even more popular franchise.
100%. We'll talk more about the original game or the original movie here in a little bit.
I feel like the movies would need Helmut Kruger or something like that to get people in seats. Like they need something there.
Again, for those just tuning in, we're going in worldwide box office score from lowest to highest here for
You're in
domestic.
some real like middle shit. Here.
Oh
yeah,
Mark was in this. Oh,
at least like the beginning movies are so bad that there's something kind of funny about it. This is just getting to, this is just the dregs.
I was kind of looking forward to this movie, and again, just like, nah, I'm not going to go see this. This looks like garbage.
I've seen this movie.
Yeah?
It's bad.
How is it?
It's bad. So Max Payne was like a pretty big wow moment for me in my gaming life. I was really impressed with like the bullet time mechanics, and I thought the graphics were really good at the time. One of my best friends, then older brother, was obsessed with it. And I remember all of this watching him play it and being pretty mesmerized by what was happening with it. This game came out in 2001, received a 9.1 average user score and an 89 on Metacritic. It was wildly received, selling over 4 million copies of the game. Now, the movie, however, cast Mark Wahlberg, which, I thought at the time, like, he could maybe pull that off. I didn't think he was as gruff as needed. Like,
he's got the brow, right?
Yeah. Like, for some reason, I thought Mickey Rourke would be a better Max Payne, just based off of the games. I mean, they kind of looked alike. This movie
I could see that.
Came out 7 years after the game. By this point in time, there had been multiple. I think they were up to like at least three. They were probably close to Max Payne 3 at this time.
Just about. Max Payne 3 came out in like 2010, so this was like post Max Payne to the Fall of Max Payne, which was like like one of the most acclaimed games that came out like in the 2010s. Like it's great. Like but you see the trailer to this movie and you see Max Payne fighting demons, and I'm just like, what the shit is going on here?
It had some like very liberal usage of like color correction and like crazy. The movie was basically like royal blue the entire time. It was very strange.
Wow.
But 31 Metacritic, 16 Rotten Tomato. I think that's probably on the nose for what it was. Max Payne the game, I think we can all say better than Max Payne the movie.
Way better. Even like the original game, it shows its age.
Right.
When I played it, I played that like probably 10 years ago or something like that, as on a whim. I'm like, oh, this is fun, but Max Payne 2 is better, and Max Payne 3 I think is even better. Like, let's be honest.
Well, you couldn't have played it 10 years ago, Matt. It isn't 10 years ago. Well, yeah.
Oh,
you're right. Sorry, 2000.
I played it personally 10 years ago.
Okay, gotcha.
I replayed it 10 years ago.
So we mentioned Silent Hill earlier, and how the movies are based off like Silent Hill 2. The movie was based off Silent Hill 3. The game. Silent Hill movie that came out in 2006 was based off of the Silent Hill game from 1999. I could not get the units sold for this game. Got an 86 and an 8.9, however, was very much a big deal. The movie, however, I think did very well for 2006, 97 million.
That's pretty respectable. Like
pretty respectable for it.
But Sean Bean was in it, so it's like had some star power, known star power at the time. Like,
that's big numbers. That's a big number for this. Now, it's almost the Metacritic and the Rotten Tomato here is almost the same. I don't think it was reviewed as well as it performed at the box office. However, again, I watched the movie. I did not play the game. I like scary movies. I don't like scary games.
I feel you.
That's a very different thing for me.
I've seen clips of the movie. I have a friend who swears by this movie. Oh, this movie's like incredible. I'm like, have you ever played any of the games? Like, no. I'm like, I'm familiar with the games by watching other people play them, and the games seem as wonky as they are way more interesting than whatever is dropped in Silent Hill, the movie itself. Like,
absolutely,
it's like the Cell but just like I'd say even like just boring.
Now, there is one other thing that I read that I thought was pretty interesting. The Duffer or the Duffy or the Duffer, I can't remember exactly what their name is. The Duffer brothers have cited inspiration for the Upside Down and the show Stranger Things being highly influenced by the game Silent Hill. And not that that's a direct connection, but as we're talking about games and movies or TV, I thought that was a pretty interesting thing, and I could totally see it being a big fan of Stranger Things here on my end. Next up, we do have Street Fighter, and we talked about this earlier. Street Fighter 2 is the game that influenced Street Fighter the movie. There is, again, $99 million at the box office. Pretty damn crazy to think about. This Street Fighter 2 came out in 91, as you both mentioned. Like, that kind of kickstarted some crazy shit for fighters. I got a total gross for Street Fighter 2 because
how can you quantify that? Like, how much has Street Fighter 2 made over the years?
Well, I think I couldn't find a lot with like arcade stuff, but I did see some numbers around like 10.6 billion gross, which is nuts.
It's a lot of quarters.
A lot of quarters. If you haven't, you should go and look up some dirty details on Street Fighter the movie, because holy shit,
the movie is amazing.
There's some crazy stuff happening with this movie.
I think the most interesting thing to me from a canon perspective or a non-canon perspective is that the movie implies that Charlie, Guile's buddy, was turned into Blanca, which Capcom has said like, no, that's that's not a thing. These are two separate characters. But it is kind of interesting the way that those things interconnect in the movie. Yeah,
for sure.
The movie's just an absolute trip. Like the scene at the end where M. Bison's gets his own like defibrillator and CPR in his suit. Like there's just so much.
This movie was a coke fest.
Like, it is a coke fest, and I'd be remiss we haven't mentioned, but they made a video game based on the movie. For Street Fighter the movie.
That's pretty wild.
And it's like trying to do the Mortal Kombat thing of like getting the actors like photorealistic and motion capped, and it's absolute garbage. Like, not only did they mess up doing something as easy as just doing a fighting movie and bombing it, but they messed up doing the video game tie into the movie when they just have Street Fighter 2 right there.
So I guess the better question here, because the answer to which is better, the game or the movie, is, well, Street Fighter 2 is a way better game than Street Fighter is a movie. But is Street Fighter the movie better than Street Fighter the movie, the game?
I feel I would have a better time watching Street Fighter the movie than playing Street Fighter the movie, the game.
That's fair.
I think I would agree.
100%.
And that's, you know what? That's half a victory for the movie. I'll give it something there.
For me, it was a Tuesday.
All right, so now we get to the Hitman that we were alluding to earlier. This is one that came out in 2007. It is based off of the 2000 Hitman Agent 47 game, because the other game was the other movie was a reboot based off the same game. We're seeing that here again, but some interesting things about this one. So Timothy Olyphant, right?
Yeah. Not in a cowboy role.
Not in a cowboy role, but
King out of the mold.
Because of a cowboy role, he has been on record. He was asked on a podcast not that long ago about the reboot and like, would he ever be involved with it again? And he said, absolutely not. I only did this movie to pay for my house after Deadwood was canceled. And
ouch.
Yeah. So
pulled it Ben Kingsley.
The other thing about this movie was that it originally had, who would have been in 2007 the prominent bald man to play Agent 47?
Sir Patrick Stewart.
I mean, he would have been much better.
I know, but
this person would have been
I'm trying to
racing some cars.
Michael Chiklis?
Oh, Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel was originally attached to play as the Agent 47. He later backed out of the role went on as more of a producer of the movie, and Timothy came in.
Yeah, he has Triple X, so he doesn't need to do anything else as a secret agent.
Yes, everyone knows the classic franchise, Triple X.
But this movie did really well commercially. It did not perform to the critics' liking or the fans of the series, but it did over 100 million. And
I am shocked they made over 100 million worldwide. Jeez.
Yeah, did pretty well. I like the Hitman games. We've talked about this year actually with a new Hitman game that came out. Chase, you and I feel very similar here. We would rather watch somebody play that game than actually play it ourselves. So the question I have to ask is, would you rather watch a Hitman movie or a Hitman game?
Game.
Okay.
There's just so much more variety. Like what? Like it's not even a contest.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Resident Evil. What a dumpster fire this is to try and do it. So I will say to all of those watching, we don't have a lot to really go off because all of the Resident Evil movies are loosely based off of the game. So what I decided to do here was... I
think the first movie is...
the closest.
And faithful is a weird word, but I think it's the most faithful.
There's a lot of cool little Easter eggs.
They were trying to do this movie forever. They had not John Romero, George A. Romero trying to direct this movie, and they I remember reading an EGM issue where they not only were talking about the Game Boy Color version of Resident Evil that they were trying to make that never happened, but the movie and this was back in 99, it was like, oh yeah, it's coming together, don't worry, it's gonna have, it's gonna be PG-13, but don't worry, it's gonna be gory in ways, but don't worry. So I was amazed and shocked, oh, it's actually coming out in 2002.
So it's pretty wild to think about how there's Resident Evil did really well. The movies performed very, very well. People did not like them as much as the game, because you can see here, Resident Evil the game came out March 30th, 1996. One of the highest reviewed games that we're going to have on here tonight. 9.2 user score, 91 on Metacritic, over 2 million copies sold. It's a phenomenon. But you look at the movie, the movie shares the same name. There's some absolute things from the game in it from more of an Easter egg standpoint. But what you'll see me do is for each one of the movies that come out, so the sequel to the movie, you'll see me compare it to the other sequels in the series. Because I thought it'd be fun to bring those movies or bring those games in just to see how the series progresses a game compared to the movies, even though they're not the exact, inspiration for the movie there. But in 2002...
Having to talk about every Resident Evil movie doesn't sound like a good time to me.
Well, we're going to skip over them pretty quickly here. But this one did over 100 million at the box office in 2002. It was a very, very popular movie. Again, good movie, not so much. I'd say the game much better than the movie.
Game better, yeah, but there's some good stuff about the movie. It's schlock. It's got some interesting things going on.
Absolutely. So we're going to Mortal Kombat again.
Oh boy.
This is the 2021 movie, the one that just came out in April. I this back to the just the original Mortal Kombat, because again, this is supposed to be a reboot from the series of Mortal Kombat. I watched the movie and I thought it was all right. I didn't think it was great, but I had a decent time watching this one. It definitely...
I love in the Mortal Kombat game where you take control of the postal dude in his infamous...
Oh shit, I didn't put the new one on here from that.
Unit sold total.
Well, you know what Mortal Kombat the game is. I don't have the totals there either. But what was interesting about this one, so this came out, midst of COVID, and from a box office standpoint, it did 124 million. Pretty wild.
While streaming on a big popular service at the same time.
Yeah. So I think that 55% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 44 on Metacritic, this is a higher rated movie that we've covered so far of being a video game movie. And I think that the general, not this being the only location for it, but there was some pretty average to decent reviews for the movie. People seem to like what they were doing with it. I think Scorpion was done really well. And I think that where the movie got a little strange is introducing a brand new character. That was a little weird for it. Did you either one of you see it?
I have not seen this one yet.
It's all right.
Yeah, I heard it's okay. I'll probably, it'll be on HBO Max again soon, I'm sure, in the next month or so. And I'm interested to see how different this one is compared to the first two, especially.
So I'll try and move through some of these Resident Evil ones a little bit quicker here. So let me. Oh, sorry. We had the other Mortal Kombat.
Actually, the first one.
So this is pretty funny. The difference here is not much. So this is what, and this year, what this one has made, where the entire duration of the one from '95 was just a little bit above what it's made so far.
But people like the '95 movie, right?
Like is a strong word.
Yeah. So here's the details you needed for Mortal Kombat 8.3. It sold collectively over its duration 54 million. This movie HBO put out at the same time that they had the direct to stream for the new one. I went back and watched this one. It's really rough to go back to.
I can imagine.
I can believe that.
Game better than the movie. So Resident Evil Apocalypse, I put up Resident Evil 2 here because they're both sequels, direct sequels. Resident Evil Apocalypse picks up right after the first movie ends. It did worse than what the other one did critically, made more money, obviously. And you'll start to see that there's a theme here. These movies get worse, but they continually make more money.
I know, it's the weirdest thing. Like, whatever Paul W.S. Anderson does, he found his niche. Making Resident Evil movies with his wife, Milla Jovovich. And I remember Roger Ebert just absolutely trashing this movie. It's like people jump through on motorcycles to stained glass windows without even knowing what's on the other side. It's like what is this movie?
Yep. So that's Resident Evil Apocalypse. Resident Evil 2, better than Resident Evil Apocalypse.
Oh, way better. It's not even close.
Now, Resident Evil Extinction, however, did better. Went from a 19 to 25 and up to a 41 on Metacritic. 129 million up to 148 million, where Resident Evil 3 does go down in quality. So this is one of the weird ones where the movies go up in review, the game goes down. Resident Evil 3...
down, but still way higher than
still way higher.
Like, Resident Evil 3 was a weird game where it was like not so much a direct sequel because that was Code Veronica on the Dreamcast, the better graphics and everything. This was like, oh, what's Jill Valentine up to at the same time? Leon Kennedy and
same time.
Yep. And,
same time.
They're both two's going on at the same time, and we got the Nemesis and everything like that. So, like it's kind of memorable. They did the remake, kind of.
Yep. So Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 3 better than Resident Evil Extinction. All right. So this is one of the Lara Croft Tomb Raider movies, which is the Angelina Jolie ones. This is the sequel.
Good casting, at least. I'll give them credit. They picked the perfect actress to play Lara Croft at the time.
She does just fine.
She does just fine. So the movie in 2003 did very well commercially. 43 on Metacritic, 24 for Rotten Tomato. Not terrible, not great. However, Tomb Raider 2, 8.0, 85 Metacritic, lots of games sold. I agree. I think the casting's fine. We'll talk more about Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft here in just a little bit, but Tomb Raider 2 better than the movie. In between
Need for Speed. I forgot they made this into a movie.
Bitch.
Oh man.
So we got Need for Speed here that had your favorite meth chef in mind, Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah.
Oh
man, he was in this. Wow.
He was in this one.
What's his real name? I forgot.
I cannot think of it.
Aaron Paul.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this threw me through a loop because I did not know this upon researching. Need for Speed was called the Need for Speed when it first came out, and it was a sim. It was like a racing sim game versus the arcade. Couldn't find a lot on it, but there was some stuff I did find out that it had a 70 Metacritic, 8.3 user score. The movie, however, did not do well. And you can see here in 2014, we see 203 million. That's not great for what the production cost and all this was at that time. This was a pretty big failure across the board.
And this is another case of like the movie not taking this game as inspiration. Like the Need for Speed is not where they were getting information here about the movie. Like this was definitely in the era of like way past Hot Pursuit. Yeah, like we're talking
that's
about
who they were competing against was like Test Drive 6.
Yeah, like
Right.
this is like Need for Speed payback.
Yeah.
Time era. Yeah.
Yep.
It
Absolutely.
made 203 million worldwide. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just baffled. And again, like didn't hit with critics, but how hard is it to do like a chase movie with cars? Like fairly kind of hard.
Turns out when you spend all the money on the license, you don't have any money left over for anything else.
Nope. Next up, we got another Resident Evil. We've got Resident Evil Retribution, which coincided with Resident Evil 5. If you look at releases here. So this is the 5th Resident Evil movie that came out.
I might have seen this one. I think I've seen this one.
2012?
I have not seen any out of the first one.
Takes place in the desert, I think.
One of them does. I know that much.
I saw the one in the desert. That's all I know.
Desert on a bus. Desert bus.
Desert bus.
Yeah.
This one did 28%, 39, pretty average compared to the other ones, but did 240 million in 2012. They still do very well. They keep making them. Resident Evil 5, 7.4, had a lot of shadow to stand in after Resident Evil 4 came out. But I would still say Resident Evil 5, probably a better game than Resident Evil, the movie, or Resident Evil Retribution.
Yeah, and I think 5, despite not being a very good horror game, is relatively good in terms of being an action game. Like it is more about running around co-op, fun shooting around, stuff like that, than it is about scaring you. Correct.
Moving on here to Assassin's Creed. We talked a little bit about this one leading into the show. The first game came out in 2007. The movie finally got made in 2016. Had a big cast, a real big cast. Yeah. And you can see here that in 2016, it performed very poorly on all fronts as a movie. 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, 36% on Metacritic, 240 worldwide box office. It's a big bummer because this seems like a very easy game to make into a good movie. And
I feel like I wonder who that kind of movie would be for though, because it's like what do people go for an Assassin's Creed game? Are they there for the time setting and everything, or they're there for the modern day connected plot line?
And I think it also changes game to game. Yeah. I think if you're talking Assassin's Creed 1, people were more interested in the out of the Animus stuff. But when you get into Assassin's Creed 2 and the Ezio story, people started to really like, Renaissance Italy way more than they liked the Middle East setting.
Sure.
I really like the Middle East setting. I loved the Altair stuff.
Yeah.
But that was a good saying, Jerusalem, Damascus, and all that stuff. But it's like, do you set the movie in one set period and keep it based and grounded, actually have subtitles? Because they got the guy who directed one of the modern takes on Macbeth that was very critically lauded, and oh man, the cinematography and the adaptation of this Macbeth that's so gritty. And he's going to do Assassin's Creed with Michael Fassbender and Jeremy Irons and Marion Cotillard and everybody. And
nope, didn't do it.
Hearing how it just I tried watching this movie, it bores me to tears. And it's I love set piece period piece movies, but this is just I think the editing in it is just atrocious.
Wasn't the Animus really strange too, almost like a claw grip?
Yeah, he was hooked up by his spine or something like that. And Michael Fassbender, instead of just sitting in a chair, because audiences would probably be bored of just watching somebody sit in the chair and maybe move a muscle or something like that, like Neo in the Matrix.
Right.
They have to do gymnastics and acrobatics through this big like this arena, like
Seems so dumb.
coincide with like what's happening in the Animus, and it's just like what?
I really like this series of games, so it's a bummer to me that the movie couldn't be one that I enjoyed. But I will say, I'll take the game any day of the week.
I'll take the first game over the movie. Like as like cut and dry some of the first game is, it was a blast just running around the city and that whole like cat and mouse aspect at the end of every assassination. But yeah, that movie is just boring. It's so boring.
Moving on. Now we get to the Tomb Raider stuff, which is not confusing because now we're rebooting Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, I forgot they did reboot Tomb Raider.
They did. So this one is based off the 2013 reboot. This is where there's a different origin for Lara Croft. This is, I think, Alicia Vikander is who took over as Lara Croft. 274 million in 2018. Not great. 52, however, on the tomato score there, and you got a 48 on Metacritic. Did pretty decent in comparison to other video game movies. The game, however, had outpaced. So the Tomb Raider reboot completely eclipsed Tomb Raider 1 and 2, which had done really well for a long period of time, but over 11 million copies sold, 8.4 on the user score, and 86 on Metacritic. I love that reboot. I think that those first two are so damn good. The third one jumps the shark a bit too much for me, but I really like that first one especially. Tomb Raider was phenomenal. I love that reboot.
Square, I believe, would go on to say this was a disappointment.
Yep.
And Crystal Dynamic actually clapped
you
back at them.
You could have done better, kid. You could have done better, Lara. Sorry.
So I like this one better than the movie. I did not see the movie, however.
I feel like I said, like I completely forgot this was a movie, and it seems like everyone is the same. It's just it's forgettable.
Yep. After that, we do have the first Tomb Raider. So this is where, if you look at
was hype back in the day. Hype.
Well, yeah, I mean 2001.
U2 was on the soundtrack. Like, who didn't want to go see this movie?
No kidding. Here, you guys talk about it. I got a cable. My headphones are dying.
Yep.
Okay.
Chase, did you ever go see Tomb Raider in theaters?
I did not, but the plot of this movie, as you can see, in the ironically named city of Paradise.
Oh yeah, another. Look, I gotta tell you, this document was.
There's 41 slides here. I get it. I totally get it. I never grew up as a PlayStation kid, so I know very little about Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, and I never got the sex appeal when it was being shown in magazines. It just it looked bad.
Wow, check it out. Triangle breasts. Cool.
Yeah.
Did you know there's a nude code?
Like when you had those video game magazines right next to the actual porno magazines, like what are you doing? Why would I pick up Lara Croft when like the real thing is right there? So it just never occurred to me to care about this stuff.
Yeah, I just remember the interest for the movie was just like, oh, they've casted the perfect actress to play Lara Croft, Angelina Jolie. She looks just like her. It's the role she was born to play. And the movie comes out, and like what Roger Ebert give it like 3.5 stars or something like that. It's like, it is a good action romp, and it, you watch it and it's like, it's okay. Like there's maybe one or two good scenes, but it's a lot of like ripping on Indiana Jones. Like literally has the guy doing the sword tricks, and Lara Croft just shoots the guy in that. Not guy. It's a skeleton warrior or something in the head. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So since I haven't seen this movie, I will substitute it with a different Angelina Jolie movie, and I will say that Beowulf sucks.
Beowulf, the movie does suck.
That's a bad movie. That was a real bad movie.
So I'll try and move through some of these here. I know we're getting late into the show. Let me see what we got going on here. Resident Evil Afterlife is up against Resident Evil 4.
So many fucking Resident Evil kids!
What timeline are we on where Paul W.S. Anderson got this job.
Because every single one of these, no matter how poorly we think they are, is making more money. 300 million for this.
300 million.
Now, Resident Evil 4 is the only Resident Evil game I've played and completely beat. I think Resident Evil 4 is a fantastic video game. One of the best ever. And there it is. Totally. 9.2, 96. I will say it here with both of you. This is the highest rated game that we will cover tonight.
So I think this is a little bit unfair because when you're asking us what game, I don't think I would have pulled out Resident Evil 4. Because I think we were thinking
it's a cheap trick.
Stuff. It's not really based off any movie.
But it should have been. It should have been.
Yeah, you think at this point they're going to reboot Resident Evil? They'll base it on something like Resident Evil 4.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you are right though. This is a very highly rated game for sure.
Moving on. Million. So Resident Evil right after that. Right after it, we've got Resident Evil the final chapter.
Is this like secretly the Fast and Furious movies like this whole time?
They're going to become one and the same.
One day we're going to wake up and the
Resident Evil games have always been about family.
It's going to make $1 billion worldwide or something like that.
Oh, Bobby, you're killing me.
Resident Evil 6, however, the worst Resident Evil.
It's bad.
6.6, 60 on Metacritic. Still did over 7 million, but again,
I had a friend try to tell me Resident Evil 6 was good and invited me over to his apartment to play it with him, and it just kept glitching out. I mean, it wasn't fun, but it also just kept glitching out, and every time it glitched, I would just put my controller down and I would turn my head and look at him, and he just would not make eye contact with me because he knew
it's bad.
It was a bad game.
It's a very bad video game.
Ouch.
I think that's it though for Resident Evil for us tonight. I think we covered all that we can.
Ooh, thank goodness.
Have we covered all the Tomb Raiders too, or are there more?
Tomb Raiders are
done.
No,
there was only 3 movies, I believe.
No,
there was 4. Oh shit!
But we have.
This is a fine movie.
This is a fine. Well,
this is a fine movie.
It's a 63
buddy movie.
This is the second highest rated movie we've covered from Rotten Tomatoes perspective. 47.
Actually certified fresh.
It is certified fresh. Now, here's what I think is going on. You look at the box office score for this. It's pretty low, even at 320. Think about, this is February 14th. It's Valentine's Day. This is a month before the world shut down.
Yeah.
And so COVID completely derailed this movie. I think this movie will run on to do even more based off of, people like this movie quite a bit.
I'm really interested to see what the second movie does.
Yeah. I do wonder if they really did fucking dodge a bullet by redesigning Sonic, because first design, like, who okayed that design?
I wanted it though. I kind
of want to see it too, because
is there a version on a DVD that has that?
Well, like, what do you think? Like, slight spoilers for the ending of the movie, but what do you think like Tails would look like in that style? Like, they were going like, this movie starts out with like a character that is from like that Zack Snyder Owls movie. That I'm like, I don't remember this in any Sonic canon, and it looks a little out of place design-wise compared to Sonic.
Where's Gamora into this fucking Sonic movie?
I know, and it's like, what were they thinking? Like when they did the original design for Sonic, it was like, why? What? Like, thank God they changed it, and I wasn't part of like the outrage of it because who cares? But
I get it.
Man,
it's bad, but I get it.
I'm interested.
Did they also change all the echidnas at the beginning, though?
They probably had to, because those eyes look like, even though you can't see their faces, those eyes, those do not look like the same type of eyes they were going for with the original Sonic design. So it's like, they dodged a bullet with that. Like, but unfortunately, the movie does show like them spending a lot of time doing reshoots and pickups for doing that stuff.
It's still perfectly watchable though.
Yeah, like, it's just that there's so many.
Does a decent job. What's his name? Ben
Schwartz.
Yeah,
Schwartz. Thank you. Sonic does fine. Like, is he
fine.
Leo White of my heart? No. but he does an admirable
I'll
job.
say this also is kind of interesting to me that it was able to capture a lot of people who've probably, like, a lot of kids who've never even like seen or played Sonic. Like, that's pretty impressive that, like, this was a first introduction to Sonic for a lot of people.
And Sonic is an extremely popular character for kids, which,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about this movie not being whatever. Like, the games, Sonic games, Sonic Mania notwithstanding, are pretty bad. Like, the recent ones are pretty mediocre in various ways, and yet they sell a lot. And it's
absolutely
incredible.
So that's Sonic the Hedgehog.
I mean, if you're being fair, you do Sonic Forces to be the game to compare Sonic the Hedgehog the movie to.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, the first Sonic game's good. I'd say if it's the first Sonic game, maybe the movie's a little bit better. I don't know.
I got the box office one wrong on this. Hang tight. I will tell you what it is in just a moment.
Oh, yeah. 146,000. I'd say that hits for Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
Sonic 2, best Sonic game. Can we grant this?
Yeah. Mania and Sonic 2, best.
I mean,
best
I know
games.
Knuckles Chaotix is way up there, but
I mean, it's all right. It's its own weird thing.
I played a little bit of Knuckles Chaotix this last weekend.
How was it?
I wanna play a little bit.
Door into Summer is still one of the best video game songs ever. That game is not great, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
Prince of Persia did 336 million.
I don't believe this because that movie is just garbage.
It's bad.
I literally just finished watching that.
Put Jake Gyllenhaal's face in a movie, and you'll make $300 million.
I love Jake Gyllenhaal. He is like ever since post Nightcrawler, he has been just
Nightcrawler's a great.
Absolutely on fire in the roles he do. Like Spider-Man: Far From Home. I was waiting for that turn to come, and when it happened, I was just giddy as a schoolgirl. I loved it.
Yeah.
He does nothing in this movie. This
is Bubble Boy Jake Gyllenhaal.
They tried making like a 3.5 hour epic and had to oh shit, we have to cut this down to 2. Like there is just so much incoherent cuts and edits, and Doc Ock, Alfred Molina's in this movie for like a hot minute here or there, and it's like I am confused by the plot. The only good aspect of this movie is the backwards rewinding effect that they did with the diary, and they do that just only a couple of times. It's garbage. Like play Sands of Time, play the original Sands of Time, and have a better story and a better time.
We've got just like 3 more to get through here. Rampage.
Oh yeah.
Again, this
made almost $500 million.
That's The Rock for you. Apparently, it's a pretty good movie. I've not.
Oh my god! What I forgot I'd even seen this movie until you said The Rock. Yes, I've actually seen this fucking movie.
I have not seen this movie. Is it worth checking out?
I think it's enjoyable from what I've heard.
It's fine.
Or should I just chip through all my kaiju movies that I'm still watching?
You should absolutely do that first. But like, if you want to watch some big monsters fight each other and The Rock kind of be around there, it's a perfectly fine
I do
movie.
like The Rock being around there.
It's...
But almost,
I love Rampage the game. I will say that.
Rampage is a fun arcade game. It's fun. dumb fun to just.
I love the NES game
and blow out fire when you eat something spicy.
Yeah.
Break buildings. Watch them collapse.
All right, Detective Pikachu. Gee, we all love it. I think that this is one where I will say the movie is better than the game.
You haven't played the game.
Don't need to. Movie's better.
Wait, Detective Pikachu, the game came out in 97?
No,
it did not.
I know.
This was 2007, I think, 2008.
Yeah, it was a 3DS game. It came out relatively around the same time as the movie.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been too far away.
Okay. Yeah, a 3DS
game. The game is fine. Like the game is basically a little adventure game. It's relatively simplistic. I think I would agree with Bobby that the movie is better than the game. Although I have played the game, so I can say that.
I remember the hype around the movie was just like, oh, they're finally making a live action Pokemon movie, and I watched it. I'm like, yeah, that was okay.
Yeah.
And Chase wins. Winner. Chase.
I win.
Warcraft. You're right.
The highest grossing, 439 million. Thanks, China. I couldn't find a lot of specifics here because of the different iterations of the game, but there's over 100 million accounts out there for World of Warcraft, the game.
Yeah.
That's dipped down quite a bit over the years. I think at the height it had like 10 million people like shipping, or 10 million shipping and active playing. I don't know. It's gone from like 10 to 5 million, but
like the recent World of Warcraft expansions have not gone over very well with the audience at all.
It's made Activision Blizzard a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, Warcraft movie did not do well. Duncan Jones, right?
Jones,
It did well. It wasn't good, but it.
I remember people saying this is worse than Battlefield Earth.
Really?
Yes, at least some of the critics, like some choice critics, saying like, "Oh, man, Battlefield is a better movie," or "This is the Battlefield Earth of video game movies." And watching it, it's a mess in parts because again, they're trying to make a like big, like epic adventure, but we got to condense it down into like a 2-hour movie. And yeah, just jumping all over the place, not having characters that kind of stick, and like this sort of weird trying to be funny, but the like comedic timing just doesn't work in any of the scenes. Like I remember, was it Lothar? He's in the prison, and the guard's standing by, and he's like, "Just let me out." And he's like, "I'm just doing my job." He's like, "Let me out. Hey, just do it." And then he turns into a chicken, and the sorcerer guy just comes around the corner, like, and Lothar looks at it, he's like, "Did I do that?" I'm like, "Wait, is this supposed to be a joke? Like, is this supposed to be funny?" And yeah, it's not a terrible movie, but
Sure.
it's certainly not like Battlefield Earth bad. But yeah, but man, people who love like Warcraft, forget about World of Warcraft. This is like a straight up like original. Like this is before World of Warcraft and all that stuff. Warcraft fans seem to love this movie.
Damn. Well, look, that concludes our deep dive here for tonight. We went through a lot. I know it was a longer episode. Appreciate both of you sticking through it. I'll try and be brief here with our credits. We are the Casual Hour. We stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Wednesdays being our live recording of our podcast. Mondays is Casual Mondays with Chase and I. We play a lot of turn-based action, strategy, card deck building, roguelike games. This Friday, we're playing a brand new game called Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. Should be a really good time. Tune in for that for sure. If you want to see what we're up to in between streams, you can follow us at that link. We've got quick looks we put up on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We got a new one going up tomorrow. Should be a pretty fun look at one of the Steam Next Fest video games. So tune in to YouTube at 9 a.m. Central tomorrow. Chase, you do some really cool shit. You can follow along with Chase here. Why don't you pitch what you're doing?
Yeah, I do. I almost said I did the Casual Hour, but obviously. I do Gamers on the Go. It's a podcast about handheld video games. Matt Giguere was lucky enough / nice enough to be my very first guest on that show a long time ago.
Yeah, not too long ago, but yeah, long time ago.
Feels pretty long ago. And he's probably been the person I've had guest on it more times than anyone. Probably double the next person for sure. But yeah, it's a good time. We talk about a bunch of games. Most recently, I believe my last episode was on Her Story with a friend of the show, Pierce Bourchain.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, any day now, Bobby's going to say he's finished his game, and we can do that other podcast that we've been, talking about for months now.
Oh yeah.
In the meantime, though, I'm also playing games on YouTube. I'm playing stop me if you've heard this before, a tactical turn-based game featuring mechs.
Oh, Front Mission?
It's not called Front Mission.
Damn, they're not Lancers.
No, unfortunately, no Wanzers. Man, if Super Robot Wars X would be a much better game with Wanzers. But yeah, I'm playing Super Robot Wars X, and it's a lot of fun. This is the second time I've played it, and it's kind of fun. That was the first Super Robot Wars game I ever played, and I did not know what I was doing for a very long time. So it's kind of cool to go back and play that game with the knowledge that I've gained from playing that and Super Robot Wars T and Super Robot Wars V. So it's nice. And that's been going on. I've recently branded that channel with the help of Mr. Bobby Pease over there to Chasey K Plays. So you can go find that at Chasey K Plays on Twitter, and then just search on YouTube Chasey K or
Or just click that link.
Super Wars. Yeah, click that link. Don't
just click that link.
Yeah, click that link.
Bring that.
Awesome. Jiggy Stan. I have you linked up there for your Twitch channel. What where can people find you, and what are you up to besides hanging out with us tonight?
Well, just Twitter or Twitch. It's the same. Jiggy-san, Giggyysan. Chase already mentioned I'm on like Gamers on the Go with him, which is what I usually pimp when I talk about video games. But otherwise, I am usually on my other friend's podcast, Tyler Abstract's Abstract Japan podcast, which is his music themed from Japan podcast, where he and usually by himself, because he's out in Japan now physically, teaching English and doing all sorts of fun stuff. And but yeah, I was on an episode like 2 months ago or something, or was that a month ago? I can't remember. But he's doing like episodes about talking about being in Japan and playing a bunch of music. So you can find that out at abstractjapan.com.
Awesome. Matt, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight for this
deep
dive that we did. Chase, appreciate you powering through sunburns and all. And
I'm on fire, almost literally.
And Johnny, if you're in New York, don't come back. And we'll be back on Friday with some more games. See you then.